The most important things that I hope that people take from what I said today was that I hope that students remember that your identity has to be built to survive losing the best thing on your resume. And when I was their age, it wasn't. And that's part of why I shared with them the story that I did about the New York Times, because I think it's easy to see my career now and see, Dr. Seuss, oh, the places you'll go, but there are moments that I felt very, very small. And that's a part of the ride. That's a part of the journey. And the lessons, as I said, that you're meant to learn in life, they show up over and over again in different clothing until you're ready to wear them. So it's okay if they come in now and you can only hold them for a second before you have to let them go. I've tried to cheat the learning curve of life and absorb the lessons in 5 minutes that it took people 10 years to learn. That's not the way that it works. But I hope that in a year or 5 years or 10 years, when a University of Portland student is dealing with the highest of highs or dealing with the lowest of lows, that there'll be a piece of today that resonates back with them, that they say, oh yeah, that's what that lady was talking about that one day that I was kind of half paying attention to. Because I went back and I rewatched my commencement speech when I was getting prepared for this one. And I'm going to be honest, I did not remember much about it, because why would you? Because you're excited, because your family's here, because you're preoccupied, because you got so much going on that you just want to get to the next thing. But these things live so that you can revisit them in the moments of your life when you need them the most. And her message, it didn't resonate with me then, but it resonates with me now, 10 years later. And I think that there's a piece of today that's for today. And I hope there's a piece of today that's for tomorrow and a year from now and 5 years from now. I'll tell you a secret. I've always wanted to do this. I've always wanted to do this, and I thought it would be very cool to do this, but I was also incredibly nervous to do this. And so there's a difference between having the dream of, I want to be a commencement speaker, noun, and commencement speaking, verb, that I am nervous to execute. And that is something that I'm very, very honored that the university thought that I was worthy of this. I think it was funny that Dr. Kelly left me a note in our hotel that said, thank you for allowing us to honor you. That's ridiculous. This is what in the best way, because that's who he is, but this is something that I am the one who is deeply touched. The University of Portland, I often talk about it as my starting place. I talk about it as a place I fell in love with sports journalism, because I did not come here with some grand plan of wanting to be a sports journalist. I had no idea what it was that I wanted to do other than not take math classes. That was really my driving goal here. And I fell in love and I found purpose in Nancy Copic and working at the Beacon. And I thought that it was brilliant. We were at a dinner this weekend with Dr. Kelly, and Dr. Eifler is getting honored this weekend. And she was speaking with Dr. Kelly in a fireside chat. And she asked Dr. Kelly, do you remember the name of your fourth grade teacher? And immediately, and my fourth grade teacher was Mrs. Kennedy. She said, do you remember who won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2014? And Dr. Kelly couldn't come up with the name of who won the Nobel Peace Prize. It was Malala. But that's not the point. The point is that the Nobel Peace Prize winner in 2014 got so much international press, and Dr. Kelly, who is one of the smartest people that I know, couldn't come up with Malala's name, but he could come up with immediately his fourth grade teacher. I could immediately come up with Mrs. Kennedy. And that just shows you the lasting power of teachers in your life. You carry that with you. Someone who got international press, you don't remember their name, but someone who touched you in that way in your life, in your education, is someone that you'll always come back to and remember. And for me, yes, Mrs. Kennedy was wonderful, but Nancy Copic was that person. She's my origin story. And whenever I talk about why and how or I got to the places that I am, it's because she saw something in me before I was ready to see it in myself. Yeah, I do. I believe that there is a encouragement of curiosity at the University of Portland that isn't necessarily driven by the intensity of perfection that some other universities have as a core tenet of their educational values. Now, that doesn't mean some students aren't intense as hell. We have very intense, academically rigorous students at the University of Portland, but I do think the general message and feel on campus is to explore and try and play and do what it is that you want to do. Towards the end of my time at UP, I was sent into a very small tailspin because one of my professors suggested to me, media can wait. Why don't you go get a doctorate? And I was like, why don't I go get a doctorate? I never thought about that. Maybe that is what I should go do instead of, and my best friend Claire Duffy, also from the University of Portland, she went and got her master's degree after from Columbia. And I saw that and I said, wow, there's so many ways in which you can play. And the University of Portland encouraged me to play and veer if I needed to from this plan that I had in my head. It all worked out. Now I'm a doctor, honorary, but we're not going to talk about that part.
I ask you real quick,
So Claire and I, we went on a first date over at the since shuttered Anchor, and we got ice cream. Our first friendship date. We had class together. We had 8:30 statistics class, and we were crazy that we had all 8:30 classes Monday through Friday, our first semester of freshman year. That shows you how bright-eyed and bushy-tailed we were. And we met in that first class, and I asked her if she wanted to go get ice cream, and we went and got ice cream, and we were inseparable since. She joined the Beacon before I did, and she is the person who made me want to try the Beacon. It wasn't because, yes, I needed an outlet for my writing and I wanted to get serious about writing somewhere and I didn't know where, but Claire was the person who connected that to the Beacon for me. And so we had so much fun at the University of Portland. We took a ton of classes together, we studied together, we partied hard together, we got in trouble together, we got out of trouble together, and she studied abroad sophomore year. We met up in London for a week and burned the town down, and she, to this day, is my dearest and best friend, and our husbands went to college together, and so we married high school or college friends, and our lives have just sort of always been intertwined. But Claire Duffy is she's the best, smartest woman I know. She's just brilliant and kind and caring and giving, and I always joke to her, I'm like, you make me want to be a better person because Claire is the gold standard.